What's good with it, you guys? Back to you with another episode of the Unofficial Review with your boy Charles Wilson in the house. And first, let me give a shout out to our sponsor, King of the Game, Best in High School Sports Highlights. Make sure you guys check them out on Instagram and Twitter at KOTG Media. Again, Instagram and Twitter at KOTG Media. Or you can go to their shop or their website at kotgmedia.com. Also check them out on YouTube if you just search King of the Game. Again, Best in High School Sports Highlights. All money raised through the shop where we sell merch goes straight back to building the business where we give players more exposure by providing them a platform, whether it's video or editing their highlights. So again, appreciate all your support with that. But I'm gonna get straight to it. And hopefully you guys like the new ad intro in the beginning. Big shout out to Anchor app. Now we're able to monetize our podcast. Again, big shout out to Anchor. Make sure you guys download the Anchor app if you want to listen to this podcast. That's ANCHOR, Anchor app. It also goes to Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and a host or a list of other applications. Wherever you want to listen to your favorite podcast, make sure you subscribe to the Unofficial Review because we're going to have some hitters every single week. But I'm jumping straight into it. Talking about in the last episode, the heavyweight division is back. Heavyweight division is back. And I'm talking about Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury this past weekend on Saturday. I don't know if you guys watched the fight. If you didn't, you missed it. Make sure you watch it this week on Showtime. They should be having a replay aired on Showtime this week, sometime this week. But if you're a boxing fan, I don't know how you could not like that fight. That's exactly what we're looking for when we want to watch a boxing match. Again, there's two different styles. There's one, you got Deontay Wilder, who's the big, heavy hitter, probably the strongest or the best puncher that we, as far as power goes, that we might have ever seen, including Mike Tyson. And you got one of the more awkward, but again, more skilled boxers in Tyson Fury. Both of them going to the ring this past Saturday in Los Angeles, in the Staples Center. Currently the headquarters for the King, and I'm talking about LeBron James, but on Saturday night that was taken over again by the heavyweight matchup. It's hard to find a heavyweight matchup. So yeah, big shout out to the promoters, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, for making this fight happen. Again, I think it's bringing the heavyweight division back. And to be honest, it's bringing back a lot of publicity with boxing because the heavyweight division carries a lot of weight. Now, just because it was a good fight doesn't mean that there was no controversy. Boxing is all about controversy. Now, I was going for Wilder, but if I am to be completely honest, after watching the fight, Wilder was getting outboxed. He was getting outclassed. He couldn't find his right hand to save his life until the 9th round, where he was able to put Tyson Fury, on the canvas, on a knee. And then after the 11th round, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And Deontay Wilder puts Tyson Fury on the ground. Again, to fill in all between that and before that, Tyson Fury is basically outboxing Deontay Wilder the whole fight, making him miss, keep him at distance with a jab. Tyson Fury got a few good combinations in there, and to be honest, if Tyson Fury was a power puncher, Deontay Wilder might have been knocked out somewhere around the 5th or 6th round. Let's just be completely honest. Because he did catch some big punches, but they didn't have enough behind them to knock him out. But besides that, Deontay Wilder, obviously you're looking for that one-punch knockout. And to be honest, I am surprised, and this is probably the biggest surprise of the fight. I did see Wilder knock out Luis Ortiz in the 10th round in his last fight. And after the 11th, I wasn't sure he had enough power or enough energy to muster up, a power punch that would put Tyson Fury, on the ground. Because Tyson Fury took some of his best punches, and, well, at least I thought so, and obviously I was wrong, because in the 12th round, he takes a 1-2, right-left, straight right and a left hook, check left hook. Falls to the canvas, looked like he's, honestly looked like he was sleeping, looked like he was comatose, but one thing I noticed, and I can't remember what interview it was, Tyson Fury did talk about if you get knocked down, the best thing to do is to stay down, catch your breath, and then get up, within 10 seconds, you got to catch your breath, because the worst thing you can do is try to get up instantly, because when you get knocked down, you have a concussion. So when you get up, your legs aren't going to be underneath you, and if you get up too quick and you can't, it looks like you're wobbly, you're at more risk for them to call the fight. Now, I'll give the referee some credit in that fight, because he did not wave the fight off. He gave Tyson Fury a chance to get up. If you guys look at Tyson Fury's face when he gets knocked down, he's looking up, he's breathing. Not Amir Khan breathing where, Amir Khan's trying to get up. Tyson Fury's just laying there, breathing, trying to catch his breath. And then starts getting up around 6. Eventually makes it up, right before he hit 10. Referee checks if he's okay. He was okay. And then obviously if you watch the rest of the 12th round after that, he won the rest of the round in dominating fashion. So big shout out to the referee. I definitely want to get his name. So let's search his name up so I can give him some credit, because, the regular referee would have waved that fight off, unfortunately. And let's see. Jack Reese, referee Jack Reese. I did listen to his interview. He was pretty clear with both fighters before the fight. He said that he let them know that, he's going to give them the benefit of the doubt if they get knocked down to the canvas, which a good referee does. And again, there's videos out there where Wilder saying, hey, it's past 10 seconds, but, pull up a fight where somebody gets knocked down and the referee has a stopwatch and is literally looking at the seconds, counting seconds off a stopwatch. He's counting off of his own accord. Obviously, if he counts too slow, he's going to get criticized for that, and he would probably never work a big fight again. So, his livelihood is on the line if he tries to throw a fight. I think the most incriminating thing was one of the judges' scorecards where they gave Wilder, they gave him multiple, I think they gave him 7 rounds, 7-5. I have no idea what fight he was watching. He must have been watching Deontay Wilder highlights, because there was no way in hell that Deontay Wilder won 7 rounds of the 12. If anything, he won 2 for sure, because he knocked him down. Take away the knockdown, those rounds were given to Tyson Fury, because both rounds, 9th and 12th, as soon as he knocked down Tyson Fury, the rest of the rounds all Tyson Fury, and it wasn't even close. Again, I was going for Wilder. I like calling a spade, but it's boxing. I'm not surprised. Again, this reminds me, this reeks of Canelo Alvarez, Triple G, the first fight, where I knew that there was no way that Canelo was going to lose a decision. He was either going to win or they were going to draw to set up the rematch, and that's exactly what happened here. Again, this fight took place in the U.S. And to be honest, that shouldn't be the main focus of everybody. The main focus should be, it was a good fight. The heavyweight division is back, and I think that we should be looking forward to a rematch. And asking for competent judges in boxing, is impossible. So in the heavyweight division, usually people like it because you don't leave it up to the judges. It's usually a knockout. In this situation, it went the distance. I think in the rematch, I don't think it goes the distance for either. Either way, I think in the second fight, especially if it's in the U.S., I think Deontay Wilder wins that fight. But I'm excited to see how that goes. I know that Tyson Fury called out Anthony Joshua after the fight. You know, Anthony Joshua was put on notice because this fight, again, brings a lot of attention to boxing, brings a lot of attention to heavyweights, and now people are looking at the two best heavyweights being Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, and if Anthony Joshua wants to get into that mix, he's gonna have to fight one of them. So, curious to see how that goes. Again, I'm excited that boxing, at least the heavyweight division, is back. Yeah, just an exciting Saturday of boxing. Didn't get a chance to watch the undercards, but I was able to check out the main event, and it definitely did not disappoint, especially the way it ended. I don't think there's that much controversy. Minus, again, the ridiculous scorecard where you give them 7-5. I really couldn't point out more than 4 rounds that Deontay Wilder won, but it's boxing. So you got judges that are, you know, who knows if there's money in their pocket. You know, again, I'm not gonna come at the judges' lives because, you know, boxing's already a joke when it comes to the judges. Paulie Malignaggi couldn't contain himself on the broadcast. If you guys have a chance to look at that, once it was called a draw, again, Paulie Malignaggi couldn't contain himself and was basically saying, how's he supposed to be a boxing analyst? You know, he's a boxer, so he knows boxing. How is he supposed to be a boxing analyst and predict the actual scorecards when the judges themselves that are actually, their scores actually matter, don't add up to what we just seen or what we've seen with our own eyes. But that's that. I want to get to this quick UFC 231 this Saturday, main event, Max Halloway versus Brian Ortega. I think that might be one of the best fights of the year. As far as potential goes, I know that McGregor and Khabib was a big build-up. There was a lot of hype behind that fight, but I think as far as what's actually going to happen inside the octagon, I think Halloway and Ortega is going to be a Fight of the Year candidate. Again, I'm still more excited about the UFC fight in December. I think it's 232 with Andrew Gustafson and John Jones on the main card, and then the co-main event being Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg. So I think that's going to be the card of the year. But again, UFC 231 this Saturday, Max Halloway, Brian Ortega is the main event, co-main event. Valentina Shevchenko and Joanna Jarosczak. I'm sorry if I butchered the names, but Joanna is actually a really good champion. She lost to Rose. I can't remember the last name, but she lost to Rose twice in a row. It's her first fight back from both losses, or from the last loss, and she's going against Valentina, who she's very familiar with. Had trouble with her earlier in her, in her career when it comes to fighting. But again, I'm excited to see how that turns out. UFC 231 this Saturday. Make sure you guys check it out. There's no paid placement for Dave & Buster's, but usually I go to Dave & Buster's. So, Dave & Buster's, if you want to sponsor this podcast, let's make it happen. Anyways, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this podcast. I'm trying to keep this podcast under 1 hour for you guys. And before we do that, again, this is the unofficial review with Charles Wilson, brought to you by King of the Game, Best in High School Sports Highlight. Make sure you guys go follow them at KOTG Media on Twitter and Instagram, KOTGmedia.com, as well as on YouTube at King of the Game. And plus, I might want to start doing a contest where you guys start guessing the instrumentals of these songs that be coming on. I'm changing it up on you guys. So make sure you guys are up to game. I'm going to be putting on some 2000 hip-hop R&B. So just make sure you up on game. You don't know nothing about that. Again, back to the meat and potato. We're getting right into football, college football. What I tell you guys about the college football playoffs? If the only way Georgia was getting in is if they beat Alabama. I don't care if they're up by 14 points. That was their chance to win and get into the playoffs. They screwed it up. They lost. Sayonara to Georgia. Better luck next year. Good luck versus, who are they going against? Texas, I believe. I want to say they're going against Texas. So I don't want to hear from the Bulldogs fan, you guys had 2 losses. You shouldn't have got blown up by LSU. Again, you were up by 14 on Alabama. And, unfortunately, hopefully Tua's okay. But when Jalen Hurts comes in, I know you guys didn't study, prepare for him. That should be easier than trying to guard for Tua, because Tua is known as a thrower. He's a legit dual threat. Jalen Hurts is a legit running quarterback that can throw occasionally. Tua is a running quarterback, or he's a pocket passer that could run. So I don't want to hear no excuses from Georgia. Stupid 4th down fake punt. I might go down as one of the worst play calls of the season. Again, I know it's hindsight 2020. If they make it, he's a genius. Kirby Smart's a genius, but they missed it, so he's a dummy. Again, when I say dummy, I mean I know Kirby Smart is very knowledgeable in football. He's a great college football head coach. He's definitely one of the top 3 coaches in the SEC. But as far as the play call goes, it was a dummy play call because essentially that's, when you keep Alabama in the game, Alabama finds ways to win. Again, you're going against one of the best coaches in college football history, Nick Saban, and they don't beat themselves. So usually you got to play it safe. Make them drive the field instead of go for like a fake punt is fine, but the actual, I don't know what the design of the fake punt was, but it didn't look good. I don't know how they're going to get a first down from that. So, again, Oklahoma beats Texas. They avenged their loss this season from Texas, where they lost by 3. They beat Texas in the Big 12 championship game by 12. So, again, they avenged their loss from earlier this season. They deserve to go to the playoffs. If Georgia and Oklahoma were to go against each other, yes, Georgia would be favored, but it doesn't matter. Georgia has 2 losses. They shouldn't have got blown out by LSU. You can't find one blowout on Oklahoma's record unless it's Oklahoma blowing out another team. But, again, Georgia, they had their opportunity to close out Alabama. They couldn't do it. Kirby Smart, again, they have a bright future. I honestly think that Georgia should be the front runner for the SEC next year. But as of right now, this year, they had their shot to make a statement to the playoff committee, which I don't think that they keep Alabama out, even if Alabama loses. I think if Georgia won, Alabama and Georgia both would have made it in front of Oklahoma, which is unfortunate, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. That's what Bruce Almighty said. In other college football news, Urban Meyer retires. Very interesting timing. His last game he will be coaching is going to be the Rose Bowl, which in his interview he said he's never coached the Rose Bowl before, so he's very excited to coach the Rose Bowl. But again, so yesterday he retired he retired, gave a press conference. He said it's been an honor to represent the last 7 years. So it's been an honor to represent for the last 7 years, this football program, Ohio State of Ohio, this university and community that I care so deeply about. And then he just talks about his time at Ohio State, which I think he's very sincere about. Obviously, Urban Meyer has indicated that Ohio State was one of his dream schools he wanted to coach for. So, that's nice. He did sign. He's under contract, but again, he retired. So I'm not sure how that contract stuff works as far as maybe if he changes his mind. He did say that he does not plan on coaching again. Ryan Day will be taking over for him as the head coach as of next year. Again, Urban Meyer is gonna coach the Rose Bowl versus Washington, so that should be a pretty good game. Ohio State's offense versus Washington's defense is pretty tough, so that'll definitely be a closer game than Ohio State Michigan. But again, Urban Meyer's career started off at Bowling Green from 2001, 2002, then went to Utah, where he helped Utah reach an undefeated season in 2004. Then, obviously, most people know him when he was at Florida with Chris Leak, Tim Tebow, and the rest of the crew. National titles 2 years, 2006, 2008. Then took time off for health reasons, came back to Ohio State from 2012 to 2018. At Ohio State, 82-9, 54-4 in the Big Ten, and obviously won the first college football playoffs. The first year it came out, 2014, versus Oregon with his third-string quarterback, Cardale Jones, who's, I believe, out of the league now. So, again, Urban Meyer has had some great success in college football. Definitely one of the best college coaches to ever coach the game. That doesn't go without saying that there was a lot of controversy with his times at Florida, as well as Ohio State, including this year where one of his assistants, was going through domestic issues. Assistant's wife contacted Urban Meyer's wife saying, XYZ, Urban Meyer saying she never told him, he didn't know anything about it. Then he came back and said, he reported it. He tried to mislead everyone, looked like a clown. Board members at Ohio State stepping down because he was only given a 3-game suspension, in which Urban Meyer was adamant against 3 games because he didn't think he did anything wrong. He didn't believe that he should have got suspended even 1 game. Again, he was suspended 3. I don't know if it was 1 or multiple board members, but there was a board member that stepped down. And ultimately, if you ask me, and yes, he said that, for health reasons, I think that they gave him the opportunity to walk away gracefully from Ohio State. And using health as, again, health might have played into it, but I think that Ohio State gave him an opportunity to walk away gracefully, because I think that Urban Meyer still wanted to coach. Again, I don't have any proof for that. This is just pure speculation based on, what I see. I think Urban Meyer still has a lot of gas left in the tank. But if not, I do wish him the best of health. But again, his legacy will still be tied with Zach Smith, his assistant, who had, a whole bunch of domestic issues. Again, it's unfortunate, but that's just how it is, especially when you try to deceive and, misdirect the public and the media as far as what you knew and what was going on in your program. Negligence is not an excuse, and Urban Meyer knows that to the fullest extent. Next in college football, I wanted to talk about some of the top quarterbacks in this upcoming class, 2019, as far as NFL draft goes. So this is still under the college football umbrella. Juniors or underclassmen, so redshirt sophomores, juniors, redshirt juniors, have an opportunity. They're able to declare for the draft up to January 15th, 2019. So they have until then to declare. So I think that's it's a very important date, especially for the quarterback position, where a majority of the top quarterbacks are underclassmen. And I'm going to be going through some of those underclassmen and potential underclassmen. I know not all of them are going to actually declare for the draft, but I might as well mention them anyway. So I'll start with the actual seniors that are graduating. Drew Lock from Missouri and Ryan Finley from NC State. Drew Lock, currently at Missouri. Some people, have him as a number one quarterback this year. 6'4", 225 listed. Senior quarterback from Missouri. And to be honest, if you look at his games, and again, it's very nitpicky because they did play against Georgia and Alabama. Whenever he's under 60% completion, they lose every time. There's a direct correlation. When he's under 60% completion percentage, they lose. Versus Georgia, 0 touchdowns. Alabama, he had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So versus Georgia, they lost 43-29. They lost to South Carolina, 37-35. They lost to Alabama, 39-10. And that's 3 straight weeks. 2 weeks after that, he plays Kentucky. Again, Kentucky was actually a solid team this year. I believe they finished in the top 10 overall when it came down to the rankings by the committee. And they lost to Kentucky by 1 point. And he threw 0 touchdowns, 0 picks in that game. So Drew Lock, again, I haven't had a chance to fully watch him, but based on what I have seen as far as some of the highlights as well as some of his stats, I think that he still has some things to work on. I don't see him as a top quarterback. I honestly don't see him as a first round pick. If you ask me right now, his season stats are 63% completion percentage, 3,125 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, which is pretty good ratio. And again, he's in the SEC, so he does have some stiff competition because they also played Florida and beat them. Let me give him credit for that. In that game, he went 24 for 32, 250, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. So I think he has potential, but I don't think he's a first-round pick, especially compared to some of the underclassmen that are coming out. I'm curious to see how his draft stock goes throughout the process, but we'll keep a close eye out on that. But Drew Lock is graduating, so he will be he will be eligible to get drafted next April. Next quarterback, Ryan Finley from NC State. Now, I think Ryan Finley is a better quarterback than Drew Lock. Reigning from Phoenix, Arizona, 6'4", 212. Ryan Finley, I think he has the physical ability to play in the NFL. I think he still needs to clean up mechanically a few things, but I think he has a lot of potential. I think, again, I do believe he's better than Drew Lock if you gave me an option between 2 of the guys. Unfortunately for Ryan Finley, his game versus West Virginia, which I'm sure he would have put up a lot of good stats versus West Virginia, that game was canceled due to a hurricane, I believe. So, he's dealing with 1 less game and still had actually a solid season. Finished with 3,789 yards, 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Again, it's a solid ratio. There's quarterbacks with better ratios, and we'll get to them soon. But actually, they won't be on this list because we're talking about Tua and then Kyler Murray. I don't think Kyler Murray is someone that will be in the NFL draft because I think he honestly should be playing baseball. Baseball, football money, It's two separate playing fields. One is guaranteed. The other one, if you get hurt, money vanishes, quicker than a rabbit in the hat. So, Ryan Finley, again, if you guys haven't had a chance to check him out, look at some of his games. There are some game highlights that are posted on YouTube. It shows his incomplete passes as well as his completed passes. Again, I think he has the tools to be a pretty solid quarterback in the NFL, potentially a starting quarterback. I'm not going to say franchise quarterback, but he has the potential to be a starting quarterback in the NFL for a team. So he's one guy I would watch. Now I'm going to get into the underclassmen, guys that not necessarily have declared. Well, for this first one, he's declared already as far as foregoing his senior season and entering the draft. And I'm talking about Jarrett Stidham from Auburn. He's had an interesting story through high school all the way to where he is now at Auburn, leading them to a bowl game. Now, Jarrett Stidham, for some of you guys that don't know him, he was ranked number 2 by 24/7 Sports in the dual threat quarterback category. Now, number 1 arguably is going to be the Heisman this year, and that's Kyler Murray, which both of them are out of Texas, which happens to be a coincidence. But Jarrett Stidham was number 2 on that list, again, out of Texas, Stephenville, Texas, standing 6'3", 215. And his situation gets interesting because he goes from number 2 ranked dual threat quarterback in the country out of high school, going to Baylor. And if you guys don't know, he transferred out of Baylor because his first year at Baylor is when that whole Art Briles situation went down with the Baylor investigation and all the issues that were going on at Baylor. I'm not going to get into the specifics. If you guys don't know, make sure you guys go ahead and research that on Google. I'm not going to get into the specifics of that. He ended up leaving the program, essentially quit football because he was training quarterbacks back in Texas. He was training quarterbacks. So 2016 season he didn't play at all. 2015 is in Baylor. 2016 season he didn't play at all. In the 2017 he decides to go to Auburn and wins the starting quarterback job over, John Franklin, who was part of Last Chance U. If you guys haven't seen that series from East Mississippi Community College, and had an excellent year for the Tigers. Going, he had 3,158 yards, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and again, I think a lot of that goes to he had a running game to go along with it. Not only that, they beat Alabama at the end of the season, but he had Kerryon Johnson and a workhorse behind him to help him out. But I think Jarrett Stidham has the tools to be a good quarterback. I think he's still a little bit raw. I think he needs a good quarterback coach to help him, but I think he does have a future in the NFL and is potentially a franchise quarterback if in the right situation. So again, I'm excited to see where he goes. He did have a bit of a drop off this year. Didn't even hit 2,500 yards. I'm sure he'll break that once they play in the bowl game. But again, he did hit 2,500 yards. Right now he's sitting at 2,421, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But again, Kerryon Johnson, who is a workhorse back. I know he got hurt last year, but he's a workhorse back. Helped a lot. And, obviously he's missing him, and you can see that in the stats. And if you guys watch the games, you can see that as well. So, Jarrett Stidham is a name to watch. And, again, I'm pretty high on him because I think he has a lot of potential. Next is Dwayne Haskins, who hasn't committed to the NFL draft, or he hasn't declared for the draft. So this is an interesting situation because I honestly think that Dwayne Haskins is going to declare. Only reason why I say that is because Urban Meyer retired. and he doesn't know which direction Ryan Day is going to take the program. Now, he couldn't believe in Ryan Day. Obviously, Ryan Day was there as an offensive coordinator, so there's still familiarity there. He probably feels comfortable coming back, but I think that, there's still uncertainty there. I don't think that Dwayne Haskins repeats the same season he has right now with Ohio State. He's sitting at 4,580 yards, 47 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and is a Heisman finalist. I don't think he doubles those numbers, and I think, to be honest, you got to hit while the iron's hot. And I think Dwayne Haskins should declare for the NFL draft, especially in a elite class, in my observation. Again, he's a sophomore, standing 6'3", 220 pounds, could run, he could throw. I personally don't think that he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. And that's because even in one of his best games against Michigan, and don't get me wrong, he had great throws in the game, but most of his throws in that game were wide open receivers, or he hit on drag routes, and they pumped his numbers up a little bit. He didn't have one of those corner passes in the end zone where it was a perfect pass. I can't take that away from him. But again, that Michigan game where he threw 6 touchdowns, he had 356 yards, or 396 yards. It was impressive because he was able to find the open receiver. Game plan wise, I thought it was perfect for him. They didn't make him go through his progressions. Again, he's a raw quarterback, so I'm excited to see what direction what he decides to do after the Washington game in the Rose Bowl. So that's Dwayne Haskins. Next is Justin Herbert from Oregon, who some people have ranked as the #1 quarterback coming out, if he was to come out this year. So he's a big quarterback, standing at 6'6", 230, and from what I'm told from some players from Oregon State, he's a legit 6'6". And again, this is another quarterback, Justin Herbert, who I think is a system guy. A lot of scheme goes into him getting his numbers. Not to say that he can't play. I think that he could play, but I don't see it with him. I think it would be a mistake for him to be the #1 drafted quarterback of the class. If he is, I hope that the Giants get him. I would hope that the Giants get him, because I just don't think that he's the guy. There were reports earlier in the year that Justin Herbert was going to go back for a senior season because he's still a junior. But, when you're ranked #1, again, in a relatively weak quarterback class, I think that money is calling. There's too much uncertainty if you go back as far as injury. Anything can happen. I think Justin Herbert sits with his family, sits with his coaches. They tell him to go because of the situation this year with the quarterbacks. I'm not going to get into all the stats. You guys, make sure you guys watch it. Again, he put up pretty good numbers, but actually, if I go back to this senior season has been a disappointment. Didn't even hit 60% completion percentage. He's at 59.6. And that's in the offense that's designed to get, high percentage passes. So again, he has some work, and I'm not really big on tall quarterbacks anyways, because usually they never pan out. The last one I can remember, Paxton Lynch, was pretty tall, as well as Brock Osweiler. And as you can tell, both of them are out the league. Paxton Lynch is out the league. Brock Osweiler is barely in the league with Miami. Barely. I seen him on TV, actually winning games in Miami. So I was actually surprised with that. Now, we're going to get into the guy who I think is the best quarterback in this draft class. #1, el numero uno, in the Big 12, and I'm not talking about Oklahoma, I'm not talking about Texas, I'm talking about the Mountaineers of West Virginia, standing 6'2", 223. And I talked about him earlier in a couple podcasts. Will Grier, transfer from Florida, absolute baller, just lit up the Big 12 this year and solidified West Virginia as a power in the Big 12, at least this year. And they're going to have a high-scoring game in the Camping World Bowl. I never even heard of that one. Versus Syracuse. So that's going to be actually a pretty good game. It's going to be on ESPN December 28th. You can anticipate a high-scoring game for sure because both of the defenses are horrible. But Will Grier, I think, is the best quarterback in this draft class. When it comes to passing, I don't think that there's another quarterback that's able to put the ball where he can. I think that he should declare for the draft. I mean, they have him listed as senior, so I'm sure he's coming out. Crazy year for the Mountaineers. If you look here, 3,864 yards, 37 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Again, that's incredible. If it wasn't for Tua, Kyler Murray, and Dwayne Haskins, I would assume that Will Grier would be in that second tier when it comes to Heisman talk. But obviously, those three quarterbacks had fantastic years, or a fantastic year this year. So, Will Grier got overshadowed by that. But I do think he's the best quarterback in this draft class. I think he should be the first quarterback drafted. And, I'm excited to see who drafts him. Hopefully it's not the Giants or Washington. But I think he's going to be a stud because I've seen several games of him. And every single game I come back impressed. Now you might say, hey, the Big 12 defense is sorry. Yeah, sorry, but when you put the ball in the right spot and the defender is in the perfect position and you still fit it into the window, that's something that only certain quarterbacks could do. I think Will Grier has it, and I think he's a franchise quarterback. I think he should be the number one quarterback drafted this year. And I don't think it's close. And lastly, I had Shea Patterson, but I'm going to skip him because I honestly don't think he's going to declare for the draft. I think it's in his best interest to go back to Michigan. I think Jim Harbaugh should utilize his arm more. I've seen Shea Patterson play in person at the U.S. Army Bowl. The dude could throw. I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe I'm overrating him a little bit. But I think Shea Patterson should go back to Michigan and, right the wrong as far as Michigan's season this year and, prove that he can throw the ball because, his yards per attempt went down. His completion percentage went up. But, again, a lot of it was dink and dunk. Jim Harbaugh was protecting him, but Shea Patterson, I think he needs to take that next step. I think it would be a huge mistake for him to come out this year. I hope that Jim Harbaugh and, family, friends around Shea Patterson are telling him to go back because I think it would be in his best interest to go back and put together a good year, a Heisman year, because, the numbers that he put up this year were pretty pedestrian, but he led Michigan all the way up to a number 4 ranking where they got stomped out by Ohio State. He made some plays in the Ohio State game, but, his stat line was a lie. I think that, his stat line looked a lot better than what he looked like in the game. So I'm not even going to read that out. But Shea Patterson should go back to the school, stay with Jim Harbaugh, barring he's still there, which he should be there. Now he's the best coach in the Big 12, or Big 10. But lastly, with college football, I want to talk about Kliff Kingsbury, my guy. The one that coached at Texas Tech got fired. Texas Tech, it made sense. I think that, Texas Tech was ready to move in a different direction as far as, they weren't winning anything with Kliff Kingsbury. They had an exciting team to watch, but it wasn't like they were competing every year. And I think Texas Tech needed a new regime. I think they needed a new spark to light a fire under that Texas Tech program. So, I mean, it makes sense why Kliff King and Texas Tech parted ways. Now, when Kliff Kingsbury left, I thought that he was one of the hottest coaches as far as offensive mind, offensive coordinator-wise, both college and NFL, and potentially head coach candidate for college programs as well. Just because it doesn't work at just because it didn't work at Texas Tech, I don't think that he shouldn't have been a college coach anywhere else. Exciting news, but also unfortunate for my Eagles that Kliff Kingsbury has officially signed with USC to be their offensive coordinator, and I think that's a good opportunity for him. Looking at it objectively, Kliff Kingsbury is going into a situation where Clay Helton has literally cleaned house, and he's the one with all the pressure, not Kliff Kingsbury. Now, Kliff Kingsbury has, he has a little bit of pressure because he's working with young talent, but I think that he could go into USC in a situation where they could gather a whole bunch of recruits. Now, I've been looking at quotes from recruits in the California area after Kliff Kingsbury, and this is a huge move for USC. I think USC with Kliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator, and I mean, to be honest, if they fire Clay Helton and hire Kliff Kingsbury as the head coach, I think that would be a situation where USC would continuously dominate the Pac-12 with Kliff Kingsbury as the head coach. That's how highly I think of him. And a little bit about Kliff Kingsbury. He played his college ball at Texas Tech. Was a journeyman in the NFL, playing with 3 different teams: Patriots, Saints, and Jets. Had his time in NFL Europe as well as the Canadian Football League. So he has experience. He came from the coaching branch of Kevin Sumlin, so he was there at Houston. Also went over to Texas A&M for a year, where he was the quarterback and offensive coordinator. And in that 1 year, he helped Johnny Manziel win the Heisman and beat Alabama. And that's what got him the job at Texas Tech, where he was at Texas Tech for 5 years. And then obviously they parted ways mutually. And now he's at USC. USC got a steal. I got to be honest. Clay Helton did a fantastic job in catching Kliff Kingsbury. I think JT Daniels, Amon Ross, St. Brown, Stephen Carr, all those guys for USC, those young dogs on offense, are going to love his offense. I think USC, again, is going to dominate the Pac-12. They're definitely going to dominate the Pac-12 South. And that's coming from an ASU fan. They're going to dominate the Pac-12 South. The only competition I see is Washington in the North. I mean, Stanford's always tough, but it's really Washington with Coach Peterson. And to be honest, next year is a toss-up between USC and Washington. Obviously, I wasn't big on Jake Browner, and clearly I left him out of my last segment where I was talking about top quarterbacks in the draft class for next year. I left him out of there because I don't think he's a top quarterback in the class. Okay, he could prove me wrong, but he most likely not. Next year, Washington is going to have a new quarterback, and it's going to be a legitimate quarterback, Jacob Eason. Now, that name might sound familiar. He transferred from Georgia after he lost his job from Jake Fromm. And I think the icing on the cake was when Justin Fields also decided to go to Georgia, who was the number 1 dual threat quarterback in the nation last year, coming out of high school. Jacob Eason's a smart man. He left early, got the hell out of there, and then headed over to Washington with Coach Peterson. And I think that he gives Washington a good chance to run the Pac-12, barring they're running a UFC in the Pac-12 championship game, which will most likely be the case. Again, the Pac-12 will be between Washington and USC next year. And I hope my Sun Devils are somewhere in the mix. But again, I believe in Coach Edwards, but again, I'm a guy that's gonna wait and see. I'm gonna take the wait and see approach when it comes to ASU, and we'll see how that goes. But hell of a hiring for USC again. I don't care what happens for the rest of the offseason, after the playoffs, after the national championship game. The most underrated signing, the most underrated hiring, transfer, any type of transaction that can happen within college football. Kliff Kingsbury going to USC is a big move, and it's going to pay dividends for USC. I think Clay Helton either saved his job or found his predecessor. Found his successor. So, again, Clay Helton either saved his job or found his successor unintentionally. And that leads me to my last topic. Well, not my last topic, my last main segment, which is NFL. A couple things I want to talk about here. This one's actually going to be a little bit shorter. So, obviously, how am I going to talk about the NFL and not talk about Kareem Hunt? Within the last podcast episode, the Kareem Hunt video happened between my last podcast episode and this one, obviously. TMZ obtained a video from a hotel, or not a hotel, of a complex where Kareem Hunt lives, where he is seen shoving a girl and shoving and kicking a woman, a 19-year-old woman, and he in that video, he did look like he had something was going on there. Again, I don't know the specifics. I'm not going to speculate on what was going on, what was said, what was done. But at the end, he shoved and kicked the woman. It's on video. Again, this was brought to light by TMZ. Kareem Hunt admitted that he lied to the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe the same day that the video came out, Kareem Hunt was cut by the Chiefs, or he was waived. Kareem Hunt then cleared waivers in the next 48 hours, and now he is sitting on, I want to say he's on the commissioner's exempt list, and then also he's still a free agent, to no surprise. Now, when I first saw the video, I was like, there's no way that he's going to get back in the league. There's no way that any team's going to touch him. And the unfortunate thing that came to me today was that, okay, Kareem Hunt, now, hold on, before I even get to that, actually, I'll go to, unfortunately, Kareem Hunt led the NFL in rushing last year. He has talent. This is his second year. He's a young player. Somebody's going to give him a shot when all the dust settles. Now, I don't know when the dust settles or if it's going to settle, because now there's more reports coming out saying that, a man said he got jumped by Kareem Hunt and another guy. So another man that said, Kareem Hunt punched him in a bar, broke his nose. So now there's more allegations that were filed way before the video came out. So these were filed. These were in police reports that were filed before the video came out. So it's not like people are coming out because they see an opening. It's just that these stories are starting to come out now about Kareem Hunt. Unfortunately, I don't know who is leading that, but it's obviously it's good to bring it to the light. But it almost sounds like someone knew about these situations, and then now that this situation has gone down and Kareem Hunt is at a low point, it seems like these allegations, these reports are coming out at an interesting time. So again, it's a weird timing, but again, if I'm a GM, if I'm a coach, I don't touch Kareem Hunt. It's just it's unfortunate that some teams are even considering that he will be back in the NFL. There was one front office source that said he will be back because we, as in the NFL, can't help ourselves as a league. I mean, I don't know who the hell this front office source is, but he's not going to have a front office to sit in if he speaks for the league like this, in publicly. NFL is not a disciplinary organization. They're not the judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to criminal offenses. I think that obviously the NFL should take action in some way, but some people are talking about. I mean, they're talking to the NFL as if the NFL could send him to jail. I mean, that's just not the case. This has to be taken care of by the police department. This needs to be taken care of by. Unfortunately, I've seen some of the reports of the woman who reported the incident. The front office clerk at the residence didn't allow her to call 911. That person should be fired because they don't know the whole situation. She could have been She could have been in a situation where her life was at stake. Not to say that Kareem Hunt was that dangerous. I'm just saying if there was a situation where her life was at stake and somebody was chasing her and she's asking to call the police, this front office person should allow an individual to call 911 in a situation where they feel like there's an emergency. So I don't know what place this is called, but again, that front office person should be fired. Unfortunately, I don't like saying people should be fired from the job, but I mean, when it comes to safety, I mean, you're there for a reason to, obviously you're supposed to help the residents that live there, but at the same time, I'm sure you're there for emergencies as well. And that article where I had the quote from the front office source, that was from Mike Freeman. It was an article that was written today on Bleacher Report. So if you guys have a chance, make sure you guys check that out. The next one was actually a funny, not because somebody lost a job, it was a funny story. So the Buffalo Bills decided to cut Kelvin Benjamin. Just flat out cut him or waive him. Made it through waivers, so he's a free agent. This is the same Kelvin Benjamin that trashed Cam Newton on his way out, saying that he wanted a quarterback that was smart and accurate, basically. Seen Cam Newton, I believe, during the preseason, shoved him a little bit. Ultimately blamed Cam Newton for his piss poor, pathetic season or career that he's had with Carolina, or the 2.5 season that he put together with Carolina. His first season, he was solid. Obviously, his second season, he tore his ACL. Third year, still had 7 touchdowns. And then last year, before he got traded, he played in 8 games with Carolina. Had 475 yards, 2 touchdowns. And during the 6 games he was with the Bills, had 217 for 1 touchdown. Now that's bad. That's a horrible season. Not to mention, after you trash Cam Newton this offseason, after you snub him, the preseason, this season he played in 12 games, ended with 354, 1 touchdown. Kelvin Benjamin, sit down. Yeah, I'm done with that. And I'm actually going to cut the show here because we're hitting the 1 hour mark. But again, make sure you guys download the Anchor app. That's ANCHOR. We appreciate your guys' support. Make sure you favor the channel. Make sure you guys go to my YouTube channel and check it up on YouTube. We'll be posting these videos. If you guys have been checking it out, we appreciate that. But make sure you guys subscribe, leave comments, leave a message if you have any questions. Again, we're going to be moving to Twitch live stream, but I still need more equipment for that. But again, I appreciate all you guys' support. Again, anything that you guys want me to talk about, we'll make it happen. But again, I appreciate the support. This is the Unofficial Review with Charles Wilson. Always remember that action turns knowledge into power. And we'll see you guys the next podcast.
Jokey beat.